All right, welcome everybody. This is great. It's Wednesday night. We're going to do these most Wednesdays. If there's 52 Wednesdays in a year, we'll shoot for 40, maybe 45. But I'm so glad you're here. Tonight is championship week considerations for parents and coaches. This is typically something I would talk about. Oh, excuse me. Got it going on the laptop over there to make sure it's working. All right. A little bit of a rookie mistake on that one. This is something I typically would only do with coaches, right? To talk about what they should be doing during the championship season. But I think so often, and I'm going to start with parents tonight. So, parents, if you're watching this, I'll speak to you. Then you might want to skip out on the part where I speak to coaches. Coaches, I think everything I'm about to share with parents, you're going to find useful as well. But parents, the reason I'm including you in this is because I think it's so important for you to be on the same page as the coaching staff and for you to acknowledge that, hey, I have a huge part in the success of my child running as well as they can in the championship season. Okay, so let's get into it. Here we go. These are going to be concise, informative webinars, and I am a single parent. My time is precious to me and limited, and I'm a single parent, so I'm doing all the things parents that you're doing and coaches that you're doing in terms of picking kids up from practice and getting groceries and making a meal that may or may not be good. Informative could be I do teachings that are an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours long. Concise sometimes. There's things that I post here on YouTube that are 60 seconds long. We're going to find a happy medium in there of about 20 minutes for these. Okay, so both concise and informative. The audio of these as long as my voice doesn't bother you too much, you will be able to listen to the audio, not necessarily have to watch the video. Okay, so I want these slides to be helpful, but this is also something that if you are listening to this streaming or listening to the recording, you can do that as well. And then the bottom line is, these will always be available on YouTube soon after they end. Okay, so we're going to do these at 6:15 Mountain Daylight Time. That's 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 Central, 5:15 Pacific. And if you can't be on here live, that's fine. But then what you can do is later that night or the next day or during the weekend, watch the recording. Okay, before I go into the first slide, parents, this is for you. I struggled to figure out exactly how to explain this, but here's the bottom line. If we go back to this summer and we go back to June when your athletes, when your student athlete, your child was doing their first formal practice with their team, and think of the vacations you went on where they trained during that vacation, or you maybe even had to alter the vacation for a few hours at a time for them to get a long run in. Fast forward into school, fast forward into the early season meets. There's a lot of attention and time that goes into your child being on the cross country team. And one of the things that I noticed too when my daughter was running middle school cross country this season is, what a big issue it is. Not issue, but it's I was lucky that my younger daughter, her sibling, was loving going to meets, right? But you might have other siblings who don't love going to cross country meets. So here's the bottom line. Now that we're in the championship season, I think it's important for you to reaffirm to them this simple truth, which is regardless of how they run and regardless of their time when they cross the finish line at the most important meet, you love them just the same. Where they are in your heart, if you were to talk to them tonight on a Wednesday night, or you were to talk to them tomorrow on a Thursday and the race is on Saturday, I think it's worth pulling them aside and sharing that with them. So that's this first slide, is to take a moment and remind them that no matter what the outcome of the race, you love them. Okay. I know this might sound cheesy. I don't have high school kids. I have middle school kids. I think they would think it's great. They wouldn't have some jaded view of it, like, what, you didn't love me if I didn't run well? But what happens is I think we lose sight of the fact that this is such a big part of their lives. And I think it's easier for kids to confuse, my value in this family, my value on my team, my value in my school, sometimes to separate that from, hey, am I the fifth runner on the team who had a really solid race to help our team advance to the state meet? Now, I think worst case scenario, they say, duh, and then they walk away, and that's that. Okay. Next thing, you need to be calm and centered. All right. Your child is bringing energy into your household that's different than it's been all season long. They're fired up. Their teammates are fired up. If it's their coach's first time to go this far into the season, they're fired up too. If it's a veteran coach, they know how to keep their energy in this nice even keel. I mean, everybody's more energized than normal. But here's the bottom line. When they come into your house, you need to be somebody who's calm, somebody who's centered. You don't need to add energy to the mix, okay? Asking all these questions like, how did the workout go? Are you fired up to race? Are you going to be going hard with 800 to go? Where do you want me on the course? Just don't be that parent, all right? This is also a great time to ask your coach and your coaching staff what they want you to do. Okay, we're going to share a quote here that I think is important. Um, uh, this is from Epictetus, and we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. I think that's really instructive for you this time of year. You want to listen to them. You want to reflect things back to them that's going to reinforce just this positive attitude and hey, I'm going to run an exceptional race at these championship meets. This would be a time when it's helpful to know what the coach values and messages that the coach wants you to be reinforcing as well. But the bottom line is you are somebody who's listening more and talking less. Obviously, you do not want to be giving race instructions and you do not want to be coaching them in these last few weeks. Okay. I'll share a tiny asterisk here. There might be a time after the cross country season where you want to meet with the coach and say, hey, I just want to understand training. I want to understand why they're doing race pace work. Da, 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 da. That might be something you want to do at the end of the season. You are not doing that now. So we got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Also, I just wanted to share this. I love the Stoics, and I just wanted to share this quote from Consistency is Key. Okay, here's something where I guess it's helpful if you watch the video. Determined to pay the price of a worthy goal. The trials you encounter will introduce you to your strengths. So this is the quote at the beginning of the workout section in Consistency is Key. Epictetus as well. I struggle pronouncing his name. A little easier to do. Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. Okay. All right. Here we're going to go. These are 3. The next one is 3 questions I get from parents all the time. How should we adjust nutrition this week? Should they be hydrating more? How do I ensure they get champion sleep? If you watch my video from last week, you know that champion sleep is something that's realistic for high school kids. If you don't know what it is, check out that video. I'll have a link below the recording to check that out. It's on my YouTube channel. But here's the bottom line. When it comes to nutrition and it comes to hydration, I'm going to use a quote from my college coach, Mark Wetmore, which was dance with the one that brought you. Okay. The idea being the things that your son or daughter has been doing up to this point in the year, that's what they need to be doing now. This is not a time, you know what, if they don't have a great diet and there's a lot of sugar and there's a lot of processed foods, this is not the time of year to eat really clean. If there's somebody who is so-so with hydration, this is not the time to say, we're going to take 2 Nalgene bottles, an Nalgene in each hand, and you have to down those before noon every day, okay? We won't get into the issue of hyponatremia, more of an issue, I would say, with track. But I mean, there are some dangers of overhydrating, right? So those are also things, though, that I do think you could say, hey, in around Thanksgiving, going into December, do we need to really look at nutrition and hydration as things that you can do a little bit better job of? And consistency is key. I talk about the fact that a high school kid, on one hand, they should be eating like a high school student, not a high school athlete, a high school student, just like a normal high school student. And then on the other hand, they should be eating, I think, a few times a week. They can eat like a professional athlete. And professional athletes on Instagram these days put some great photos up of, the meals they're cooking, and they're just beautiful, and whole grains and protein and veggies and all that stuff. This is not the time to try and do that. Now, let's talk about sleep. The same idea applies if this is the week of their most important race of the season. Let's say this is the conference meet. Actually, let's say this is the regional meet, and they have to run really well, and they may or may not advance to state. Don't worry about sleep this week. I mean, they need to get sleep, but don't worry about trying to get extra sleep. If that key race is 9 or 10 days from now, I want you to say that the same thing holds true. The Where this would be different, where you could try and have them get champion sleep, have them get 10, 20 minutes more per night, is if the most important meet is 3 weeks away. Okay, but that's why I shared that video last week, because a lot of families were in that position, and as a parent, you could encourage your child to do that. Probably this week, watching this Wednesday, that's not going to make sense. That being said, here's a resource, and I tested this out. You can use your phone and use the QR code. If you scan that QR code, that'll take you to be able to download a PDF. It's different sections from Consistency is Key, including the chapter on sleep. And as you can see down there, there's the sleep table, and that sleep table is great. You just look at, hey, what time does my child have to get up? And if it's 6 or 6:30, then you work backwards at the times that they need to go to bed. I didn't share this, but there was I got tagged in this really neat tweet where a young man had run a 1-minute PR in the 5K and attributed it to getting champion sleep over the last few weeks. So that was cool. And then, yeah, a plug for Consistency is Key. If you want this book, you can scan that QR code. That'll take you to Amazon. I get some really kind email saying, hey, I don't know what purchasing way supports you the best. And honestly, purchasing it on Amazon, leaving a review helps as much as anything else. If you're a coach and you want to buy a bundle of books, you can go to my website, and I sell packs of books to coaches that way. Okay. Oh my gosh, Kevin Graham is on here. Kevin Graham, blast from the past, man. Kevin Graham is a really good runner. All right. What's on tap for winter parents? So that's it for parents. Okay. We're keeping that really simple. Okay. Those are the things that parents need to do. What's on tap for winter 2021 parents? If you're somebody watching this and your son or daughter has a coach who won't be meeting them in the winter, and there's a lot of coaches who don't even give your son or daughter a training plan for the winter, this is something where I can help you and your family. And I worked with, what was it? About 45 families this summer where, I basically coached their son or daughter in the off season. I don't coach during the year because your son or daughter has a coach, they have a team, it's messy. And obviously a lot of people do that. And I just think, that's a real problem. I'm only doing that in one situation where the mom is the coach, right? So I'm giving the workouts to the mom, and then she helps her son with those. But the bottom line is coachjjohnson.com. That's why I shared that. You can see it here on the video. Go to coachjjohnson.com in a couple weeks, and I'll have all the information on winter coaching. Also, this is for coaches and for athletes. I'll be doing a virtual camp this winter as well. This will be our 4th one. Okay, something we started during COVID. They've been really fun. It's interesting. Kids got gear, and we obviously did the things like this virtually, and kids like the gear, Nike gear, mini bands, lacrosse balls, and we teach them how to use those things. But man, they really enjoyed the videos, and it just highlighted to me that, if your son or daughter loves this sport, they want more information, and they're sponges for this. And yeah, I got to share the fact that my 7th grade daughter was reading Consistency is Key when she was going to bed last night, because she had a great experience with her coach and her teammates in middle school. That was cool because the book is dedicated to my daughters. Okay, coaches, here we go. Now it's on to coaches. Please absorb this quote. This is from Jeff Brewer, the baseball coach at Pratt Community College. He says, "For better or for worse, your team will emulate you." He said that to me in the first month or so of when I was at Pratt Community College, and it's so important. Okay, so we need to talk about, what does that mean? How will they emulate you? So let's be mindful of your speech and your intonation. Okay. And if you notice, I just sat up a little straighter too, because the third thing on here is to be mindful of your posture. Also, you want to be calm and confident. So we had this phrase at the University of Colorado where Coach Wetmore would talk about being calm-minded, right? Well, he was calm-minded. He was confident. He stood with good posture. So it was easier for us to do that. I'm going to learn the science about mirror neurons. But the idea being that when we see somebody, we mirror that. right? And so they literally are going to emulate you physically. Coaches, the way you get out of the van, the way you get off the bus, the way you walk around the course is sending signals to your kids. Okay, there's a fantastic and this is a reason I'll have a link to this, but this is a reason to be on my newsletter list, is because in the newsletter today, I can't share as many links here. Well, I'll share them in the comments, but I shared a lot of links today with the coaches on my newsletter that have links to videos and articles about this. There's a great TED Talk. I do want to reference it here. Amy Cuddy. It's got 20 million views. Okay. I hadn't heard about it until 2018 at the Boulder running clinics when John O'Malley talked about it, but talking about the power pose. And you don't need to go crazy with this, but just be mindful of, hey, the way I carry myself matters in these final weeks. Okay, when it comes to race plans, I think too often, and I see this with newer coaches and younger coaches, they fill the kids' head. Coaches, 10 things the athletes could do to race faster, but you have to give them just 2 or maybe 3. You have to figure out what are the 2 or 3 things I want them to do. Let's say it's a course, running with the buffalo. Some of you read that book. The course got really narrow, really fast. So what did we practice all season? Getting out pretty hard, much harder than a traditional University of Colorado team would do. And so what was one of the instructions we would have got that night is we have to get out hard. Okay. And then there were some other instructions, based on the course. You can say, hey, when we get to this spot in the course, you can really see, for 600 to 800 meters, head up, and we're going to start moving up on people. I mean, there's 100 different examples of what you want kids to do, but keep it to 2 or 3 things. That being said, when you do the course walkthrough, you need to be really firm with what those things are. And this leads me to Dave Frank's story. Who is Dave Frank? Dave Frank is a boys coach at Central Catholic High School in Portland, Oregon. Dave Frank has won a lot of state championships. It's lame that I didn't make notes tonight about how many state cross-country championships he has. But here's what I do know. There's been several instances where he doesn't have the best team going to the state championship and his boys win. And what he shared at the 2019 Boulder running clinics is he talked about the fact that, hey, and he's a super interesting guy. He's a Stanford grad. He was a very good runner, and he's got this really interesting energy to him. But what he was talking about in his presentation, he said, hey, I am firm at our course walkthrough, and I'm specific about, we want you doing this at this point, and I want you to be thinking about this at this point. And granted, some of you might be thinking, I don't want my kids thinking at all. Whatever it is that you want them to do, be clear with that course walkthrough. Okay. Man, I see so many coaches say, if we just have the best day we've had all year at the regional meet, we're going to advance the state. And this might be some sobering news, but here's the bottom line. Yes, you want to have an A, and we're talking about grades here. You want to have an A or an A+ day. Absolutely. But coaches, if you have a B+ day, I bet when you look at that printout of the results and see where your team finishes, you're going to be happy. And here's why. Teams at all levels, whether it's the collegiate level or the high school level, they underperform. So many teams underperform at the most important meets of the year. And here's the bottom line. If there's 2 other teams that are at about the same level as your team, and let's say it's the regional meet that qualifies you for state, there's a really good chance that one of them is going to underperform. And if your team just has a solid, kind of that B+, maybe A- type day, you are going to be really happy with your team, with your team results. Okay, so let's see. Can you do I Spy? We're gonna do I Spy. I said you could just listen to the audio on this. Okay, does anybody see any rings that I did not earn as an athlete, but I got as an assistant coach at CU? This is I Spy with national championship rings. Okay, only I thought that was fun. Folks, here we go. 2 national championship rings. I was really fortunate to be an assistant coach at the University of Colorado, an assistant cross-country coach for 5 years. The silver one is the first year the men's team won. The women's team won the national championship that same day. The gold one is another one that the men's team won. In neither of those cases were the CU men's team the number 1 team. They were not ranked number 1 going in. They just had a really solid day. As I remember it now, on the first one, the silver one, They definitely had an A day. I would say both days were A's, but I don't think they were A pluses. I mean, nobody just ran out of their minds, right? In the women's race, actually, when both teams won, there was a woman, Liza Pasciuto, who did kind of run out of her mind. But the bottom line is, like, this is an important concept. You can't run better than your fitness. That was something my college coach, Coach Wetmore, taught me, and I think it's really important, right? So if we just say we're trying to have a B plus A minus day, that's what we're going for. So you just have to have a solid day. You don't have to have an amazing day to be really excited about the outcome. And to be clear, I should have said this in the notes here. To advance to the next meet, what I'm saying is a B plus day at the regional meet or the sectional meet might advance you. And an A minus day is almost always going to advance you. And for most states, now granted, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking I'm thinking about Illinois boys. You kind of have to have an A or an A plus day in some of those places to advance. I know there's a boys region in the Minneapolis area that it's the same way. You have to do that to advance. But most places, B plus, A minus day, and you're going to advance. Okay, we're doing some more of these QR codes. Dave Frank, I referred to him, with going around the course, and he has this really short video that, on my YouTube channel. I've got all these snippets from the Boulder Running Clinics presentations, and there's one that's like 2.5 minutes. I watched it again today. What do the things he highlights going into the championship season. John O'Malley has a great team this year at Sandburg High School. He's the boys coach there, and he's the one who talked about the power pose. So you can check those out on my YouTube channel. The Boulder Running Clinics is coming up, so you can see coaches like this. Oh, here's something fun that Coach O'Malley said. He said one of the neat things about coming to the clinic is you just get a vibe off these coaches, and you get to see how the personality of the coach informs the type of team. So we'll use an example here from Consistency is Key. One of the things, if you're not familiar with the book, is I profile 8 different teams in here. This is a good example. This wasn't the one I was going to use, but this is the Minster girls team, and they're coached by my good friend Jessie Magato, and she's super enthusiastic. And it's a really small school in Ohio, and she's won 13 state cross country championships, or maybe 14. I think they won last year too. But the bottom line is she's really energetic, and she's really upbeat, and she's tough, and she's no nonsense, and that's how her team is. And then Timo Mostard's team at American Fort, very much the same thing. He's this throwback guy, right? He looks like he walked out of the 1980s. And he's just this great. His training is simple. It's no nonsense, and they work really hard, and they run hard, and his team runs fast. So the bottom line is, when you come to the Boulder Running Clinics, the person I'll highlight this year is John Sipple, right? You'll just meet this guy who's super enthusiastic, extremely intelligent when it comes to training, but also somebody who really infuses that enthusiasm to what he does. So you can click that, check out the lineup there. Okay, coaches, here's something this is the first time I've announced this, so this is going to be cool. I'm doing a track training course, and I'll come up with a better name for it. But here's the bottom line: 4 to 5 hours of teaching of why do we do the training that I want you to do in track. And then I will give you all the workouts for the 800, the 1600, and the 3200 for different levels of kids, for boys and girls. You will have multiple 20-week plans with every single day. Now, will you still have to tweak that a little bit to get it to fit into your meet schedule and whatnot? Yes. But we'll do webinars once a month over the course of the spring, so that you're going to watch all the videos in December. Then you're going to have all the training. You're going to use it with your kids. And then we'll check in January, February, March, April, May. Okay. Really excited about this. This is not something that's inexpensive. This is not something that you're going to spend $97 on and get all of these workouts. And this is something that, if we go back to the Boulder Running Clinics, there's a lot of coaches who come to the Boulder Running Clinics who have won state championships, multiple state championships. This is probably not something that they need. But I think there's so many, I know because I get the emails, there's so many coaches that you are putting in a ton of time. You're doing all the things I talk about in terms of recruiting within your school. You're building a bigger team. You have a great team culture, but you are missing what workout should I do? And what you're also missing is, hey, For 1 or 2 years, I'm just gonna do Jay's workouts. I'm gonna do it exactly as he explains. I'm gonna take really good notes, and then in year 3, 4, 5, and moving forward, I'll know how to tweak them. But what I see coaches doing too often is they wanna tweak right away, and I get it. I was that way as a coach when I was young. I totally get it. But if you think about it from a scientific method perspective, what you really want is one variable changing at a time. So if I give you all the workouts and all you have to do is adjust based on meets, and I'll explain things like, what do you do if you have a Thursday meet? What do you do if you have a Thursday meet and then the big invitational is the next Saturday and you've got 9 days? We're going to talk about all that stuff. You'll know how to make those adjustments. If there's 100 people in the course, I can't go through and adjust 100 people's training, but you'll understand how to use all these training plans I give you. And obviously, I'm fired up about this. By the way, it's just going to be a really cool opportunity for a certain type of coach. Obviously, the Boulder running clinics, January 14th and 15th. If you can't come this year, know that it's always Martin Luther King weekend. We do it Friday and Saturday. Allows you, if you're a high school educator, to give travel home Sunday and still have a day off. The videos are always for sale, assuming everything goes well, 10 days later. Okay. Bottom line is, if you want to get my best information, you should get my newsletter, and I've got that QR code here. Really excited to get my new website up. I mean, there's a website, coachjjohnson.com, and it's got useful articles and whatnot. It actually, on the front page, if you're a coach and you want to get a bundle of books, there's a 10% off coupon code there. But you can just scan this right now, get on my email list. And the key thing, if you're a parent and you're still watching this, but you're not a coach and you don't want the coach emails, I will send emails just to you, and you won't get double emails, right? Coaches, it's the exact same thing. And if you're somebody out there, you're an adult runner or you're an adult marathoner, especially adult marathoners over the next year, I'll be sending you separate emails as well. And if you're somebody who wants all of them, then you'll get all of them. Okay, so thanks for your attention. Let's see how long. Ooh, 27 minutes. That took 27 minutes. Little long-winded there. All right, folks. Here we go. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to take questions. See what questions you guys have. Oh, and this is interesting too. This should be streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, maybe even on Twitter. And if this technology is working the way it should be, I can see where this comes in. Oh, Jason Rest, everybody needs to go to the clinic. It's a must for any level of coach. Ooh, I think there's a way I can. Is there a way I can add this to the? Yes, I can add that. Did you guys see that? It's on the video. There's Coach Retz right there. Coach Rest, you made the video. How cool is that? Let's put Kevin Graham up there. Just because I want to see his face. Nice work, Jay Johnson. Okay, we'll go back to Coach Retz. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then I'll take some questions. And folks, if you don't have questions, oh, Kelly, thanks so much for agreeing that coming to the Boulder running clinics makes sense, folks. I understand coming to Boulder, and flights are easy because you're flying into Denver International Airport. Even trying to get some speakers and whatnot in. You're at the worst, you're a small flight to Chicago or Dallas or wherever, and then you'll fly in. Maybe it doesn't make sense every year. Maybe it doesn't even make sense every 2 years, but you owe it to yourself. If you're somebody who's watching a live webinar on a Wednesday, I promise you, whether it's creating the time with your spouse and your family, your significant other, or it's obviously financial in terms of flying to Denver, getting to Boulder and a hotel room and whatnot. The bottom line is, it's just what coaches tell me is, obviously it's a clinic where they leave with information that they're going to infuse into their training. And they're not, a lot of coaches, they're not looking for a wholesale change of their program. They're just looking for that one or two or three things that they're going to take back. But you leave fired up, right? It's January and you leave just, you're immersed with other coaches talking about track. And that part of it's a lot of fun. So, okay, Eric, this is a great question. Do you have any tips on helping athletes feel confident going into the season races? Yeah, hold on. By the way, this is the Mountain Vista Aerobic Monster thermal mug. You got to love that. Mountain Vista's in a crazy regional. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country, and my friend Greg Copeland, his Valor Christian team, they kind of beat them pretty bad. So we have some really good teams this year in the state of Colorado. Okay, going to Eric's question. Eric, I think this is a year-long process, right? To get kids to be perfectly clear, the teams that are going to have the most confidence this week are teams that were confident going into mid-season races, right? So I'm going to answer this from two perspectives. First perspective is, what can you do if you have an important meet on Saturday or next Saturday, right? I think it's to be more upbeat than normal. I think kids are really. I heard a really good coach say that high school kids, that you can manipulate them, and they didn't mean that in a bad way. They meant that in a way where coaches need to be mindful of the fact that they don't, or mindful of possibly not doing that, right? And yeah, just be really upbeat. I think sometimes coaches aren't clear with what they want the athletes to do. Now, this has to be something that the athlete understands, and something that you practice earlier in the year. I know that when I was a young coach, I was just so focused on so many variables that I was communicating that to the athlete. Where when you do the course walkthrough, you want to do just one or two things. But I also think it's, just reminding them, hey, we put in all this work, and that's a positive. If you go back to June and July, when we were meeting together and we were doing all the core strength and all the mobility and the long runs, isn't that cool that we get to take advantage of this now? Almost because what I see. Here's something I see in 2021 that I didn't see when I was recruiting kids, in the 2000s, which was, there's performance anxiety for a lot of kids now, even really good kids who are state champions and going on to try and make, the Foot Locker finals or NXN. There's a lot of anxiety, pre-race anxiety. And I think where a coach can help with that is to frame it as, we've worked really hard, so we're ready. I think too many athletes say, I put so much time into this. I work so hard. I put in so many hours. What if I don't do well? Right. And then this is where what was the very first thing we talked about in this talk tonight? Parents talking to the athletes, saying, "Hey, regardless of the outcome, the way I love you and the way I care about you isn't going to change." Coaches, I think that's really important. Coach Wetmore at the University of Colorado, he would say that, man, I think he said it every time when I was an athlete there the night before the race. He would say how much he loved coaching, and how, whatever happened tomorrow wasn't going to change how he felt about us. Right. God, that was a cool memory. Um, and let's go back mid-season, okay? What I do think a lot of teams don't do a good job. If I'm a high school coach and we have a big invitational the fourth week of September, we treat the whole week like the week of sectionals or state. We tell the parents, this is the time we're going to bed. That, and I said, don't worry about nutrition and food and whatnot. But to get a team fired up and saying, hey, in the middle of a school year, from Monday to Friday, we're going to treat it just like we're going to treat the sectional meet. So you basically have this practice run at the middle of the season. Then you have a meet in early October, first week of October, second week of October. Now you're in the championship season. So that's something you can do for next year. But it's hard to expect teams and individuals to do it really, really well at a really, really high level if they've never done it before. Something I was lucky to play at the state first couple rounds in high school in the state basketball tournament. And our junior year, we made it one round in, but our coach was like, hey, that's great, because you have to do it at least once to be able to do it well the next year. Okay. All right. Okay. Zach, thanks for chiming in on here. My men's team has not been able to experience success yet this year. Conference is next week. They seem to have lost hope a bit despite training going well, and no team is too far ahead of us. Advice, man. Zach, in that situation, I really think, and I'm a numbers guy. I'm somebody who can see numbers and but I don't think I'm a weird. I might be a weird person in America in normal life, but I think runners and cross country runners, and I think you're talking about your men's team. Yeah, with men maybe especially, just putting it on paper and say, and Zach, I mean, this might take a few hours on for you to make a comparison. Man, I would obsess about this stuff when I was a junior college coach. Coach Heather Burrows at the University of Colorado for years has done an amazing job of basically creating a theoretical meet where you have all the teams. So, going in, hey, Acme University or Acme High School is only 10 points better than us because they ran it because you've run against similar teams. So I don't need to go into detail about this. You'll be able to figure it out. But if you know that you're close to other teams, I think putting together the PowerPoint and walking them through it and keep it, keep it concise, keep it quick, 10 to 15 minutes and say, hey, and use use part of this video. Use what I said. They don't have to have an A plus or an A minus race. They just have to have a B plus or an A minus race. They don't have to have an A or an A plus race. B plus, A minus, and they'll probably finish really well. And the other thought I'm thinking too is, do you have that one or two athlete who really okay, this is a weird story, but I think it fits. One time I went so I went on this backpacking trip when I was running at the University of Colorado, and it was my 4th year, and I was somebody who I could run at the conference meet and track, but then I wasn't going to advance after that. And so for like the first 4 weeks of the summer, I'd take a couple weeks off, and then those first 2 weeks I'd run maybe like 50 and then 60, and then I run 70, then 80, and then get up to, I only did about 85 in singles. But the bottom line is, one year I went on this 3-week road trip where I started in Boulder and just kept working my way north, eventually getting to Glacier National Park. Okay, so I get up into Wyoming and I get to Lander, Wyoming, and I'm backpacking in, and it's raining, and I don't like to be wet, and it's dreary, and I'm by myself. And I'm just not hardened to this idea of the road trip and the backpacking. Like, it sounded like a much better idea on paper. It ended up being a great trip. Bottom line is, I run into these people. This is pre-digital photography. And they had these goats, and they had this pack of goats, right? Now, why do they have goats? Because they have to lug all their camera equipment, and they had these medium format cameras. And at the time, if you were in an art gallery and you wanted a beautiful panoramic, mountain view, if you wanted some big photo that you could blow up really big, you needed a medium format camera because there wasn't a digital camera. You needed the slide to be like this big so you could blow it up. Here's the bottom line. We get to the campsite. I'm camping with these people. They have the goats. There's a social goat. So you put the strongest, the alpha goats in the back, and then there's a leader goat. And the goats don't love water crossings, by the way. But then there's a social goat, and the social goat comes around and talks to not talks, but the social goat checked in on all the humans, checked in on all the goats, checked in on all the humans. I mean, do you have a social goat on your team that can give a little pep talk to every guy? Right? But Zach, here's it says Zachary, but I think you go by Zach. Bottom line is, if you don't have that social goat, then it's got to be you, and you've worked so hard. You have a feel for this. Is it a text message? Is it a handwritten note? Handwritten notes go so far, right? Is it a handwritten note? Is it just talking to them individually, giving these individual little pep talks? Oh, and here's one thing. Running with the Buffaloes, I keep referring to Coach Whitmer. If you think college males in 2021 are immune to a great pep talk, to being told that they're valued, to being told, hey, you've run at this level, but I know we're capable of this. And, that kind of goes against what I'm saying about not having to have an A or an A plus race. But yeah, so hopefully some of those are helpful. Okay, thanks, Mike. I will listen to you for 2 minutes or 2 hours. Your advice. Oh, thanks so much. And Eric, you said thanks for answering the question. Okay, Eva, that was helpful for you too. Yeah. Here's the deal. I mean, this is crunch time. This is an important time of year. I think if you're somebody who, you're in this for the long haul as a coach, if you're a parent and your son or daughter is a sophomore, and this is, there is some anxiety, there is some stress right now. Know that you're going to have multiple years to be able to practice these things. These things are skills, and skills take practice. And I'll relate this back to my daughter. My kids are old enough to be running cross country meets, but I've been in the sport for 20 years as a coach, and for 30 years as an athlete and a coach, and I'd never been to the meet as a parent. And it was so interesting, to see the fact that a middle school girl needed to run a lot of races to learn race skills, right? So now let's look at the athletes you have, whether you're a college coach or a high school coach or you're a parent. I mean, the bottom line is learning these skills. How do I run to my fitness level or run close? If here's 100% of fitness, you just need to run to 95%. If you're a coach and you have 7 kids run to 95 or 97% of their fitness level, that is going to be an A or an A plus day. Okay. But the bottom line is that is a learned skill. Okay. Yeah. All right, Zach. I'm glad that was helpful. I love this idea that I can click on these things and it puts the question up there. All right. I'll take another swig of water. And if anybody's got questions, let me know. And this could be general questions. Doesn't have to be about tonight. If you're a parent and you could ask a question about what workout your kid should do this week, not going to answer that because I don't know. I have no idea what workout your kid should do this week. And coaches, for just to be clear about what I'm doing in the running world with individual high school athletes, it is shocking how many kids in the track season in May, and not only is their coach not going to meet them again until the second week of August, they're not going to get a single, and what I mean single, not a one-page document with training. Okay. Now, granted, I got the coolest one-page document with training ever from Coach Wetmore a couple times, and it was amazing. He could put the whole winter training. He did this every winter. He just put it on one page. But like we knew what we were doing. We spoke the same language. We knew the workouts, and it was open-ended partly because the winter for a college athlete, this holds true for a high school athlete too, but the winter, because you have 3.5 weeks from the end of one semester, depending on when your last tests were to the beginning of the next one. It's a lot of time to make a big jump in fitness, and I did that a couple times. It's a lot of time to not to eat too many cookies and eggnog and not train too. So all right, Ross, this is a great question. How do you deal with anxiety before championship meets? There's something that I will link to here, and I'm hesitating because I don't know the best way to share it. Right now, something I shared about a month ago, actually about maybe a month and a half ago, I shared it with my newsletter list. So this is, again, I'm going to go back and share that slide so that you guys can see that. And I'll take this off. So I shared this guided visualization for 5K cross country. Okay. So one of the things you can be doing as a coach, and I don't want you to take everything I'm saying tonight as, oh, it's way too late to do these things. That's not true. But I do think some guided visualization where you take some time and laying down is great, by the way. Okay. This is a tangent, but I think it's an important one. I've been really blessed to cultivate this meditation practice. I'm about 3 years into. I hit 1,000 days in a row of 10 minutes or more. It's typically 15 or 20 minutes. But the bottom line is now I do some of them laying down because every once in a while it just feels better to lay down. So you have your kids laying down. You can do a visualization, and they can really get calm. I think what you're going to find is if you can walk them through a visualization that includes from the moment they wake up to getting on, whether it's a bus or a van or whatever, to get to the meet, or you've traveled to the city and they're at the hotel room that they is new to them and they didn't sleep well, and wiggle in all these things that are going to happen that could be anxiety provoking, right? What we do too often with a visualization, or if we do something that isn't as formal and you just say, hey, on race day, we're going to wake up at this time and we've got bagels in the hotel lobby and I'll bring some cereal too. Like when you walk through that, it's as if everything goes perfectly, and that's not going to happen, right? So I really think doing the guided visualization, I'll share the one I have for a 5K race, but if you're a coach, that'll, just by listening to the way I do it, will help you understand, oh, this is the type of thing I can do to walk them through, hey, what might race day look like? Another part of this, I think, is honestly, the thing I felt least comfortable about with this presentation came out right at the beginning, which is this idea that you would tell somebody that their performance does not change how you care about them. And I just think when you're asking this specific question, Ross, about how do you deal with anxiety before championship meets, and I don't know, oh, Ross, you're the athlete, right? Well, then you need to internalize this. Everybody that loves you, everybody that cares about you, they're not going to care more or less. They're not even going to care more if you race well, right? I mean, you just need to go and execute your best race plan. Okay. I'm sorry, Ross. I was thinking you were a coach. So it looks like I think you're an athlete because you look like an athlete. Feel free to chime in if you are an athlete. Um, but if I was speaking just to athletes, I would say you have to say all the training and all the work that I've put in this year, that is something that should, embolden me and fire me up and get me excited to put that to use on race day, right? But I know as an athlete, I wasn't always able to do that. Sometimes I said to myself, man, I've been running 20-mile long runs and a lot of mileage, and it's been really hard, and now I'm nervous for this race. Okay. But if you're all right, Ross, you are an athlete. And Ross, here's the other thing. This is a learned skill. Here's the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is you have the biggest meet of the year coming up tomorrow or on Friday or on Saturday. It doesn't go well. Man, it's October of 2021. You can learn these skills this winter and you can use them for track. Even if you're a senior, you can use them this spring. And there's a really good chance you're an underclassman and you can practice these skills. But I'll link to that 5K visualization because that's definitely meant for you. And I don't obviously I'm not an amazing speaker. I don't have the clearest voice and but there's I think the intonation of my voice and there's a certain amount of focus and clarity and calmness in that visualization that if you internalize that, I think you'll find it helpful. Patrick Rizzo, man, Patrick, I see you. I see a lot of things you post on LinkedIn, and I really appreciate all you do for the running community. And North Central, man, I wish I could have seen you running some of those in your North Central uniform. Also, you probably know Dan Iverson, right? It's just amazing all the North Central people that are out there in the running world. Okay, so Jacob, we struggle with parents emphasize. Hold on a second. Jacob, this is going to be a good one, I can tell. We struggle with parents. So this, I assume Jacob's a coach. We struggle with parents emphasizing times of an athlete's race to determine if it was a good performance or not. Obviously, that's not always true. How would you address this as a coach? Again, I'm a numbers guy. This might be too much work. Jacob, this is probably too much work. This is where my mind goes the first time. All these parents understand how 401k works. All these parents understand the rule of 72, right? If you don't know the rule of 72, Ross, you're a high school kid. You got to understand this, Ross. Rule of 72 is this. If you invest money in the stock market and let's say you get an 8% return, then the rule of 72 means that it takes 9 years to double your money, right? Or if you get a 6% return, then what is that? It takes 12 years, right? And parents understand numbers like that. I think what you can do, Jacob, is you can say, hey, when we were on this hilly course in the beginning of September, here was the average time, and here were some of the other teams in our league. And when we got to this fast, flat course, here were the times. This is why your son or daughter ran way faster. Let's set the expectation here, right? And I just think parents need to have the general education of it's cross country and share the variables. Say there's hills, there's wind, there's soft, squishy courses. There's hard, fast, flat courses. Those really matter. But here's the biggest one. I think in the state of Colorado, we do a pretty good job. But even we don't do an amazing job of measuring every course and knowing every course is exactly 5,000 meters. And it matters if a course is 4,943 versus 5,000 and 43, right? 100 meters difference. I mean, let's just do the math. Well, we don't have to do the math, but it could easily be 40, 45 seconds, 50 seconds for athletes, right? No, if it's 100 meters and it's off, we're looking at more like 20 seconds or 25 seconds. But that's a big one right there. Now the girl who runs 19 minutes on one course that was short and it's, the parents are like, well, they were both flat and they didn't have hills. And now she's 19:25 on the other one. That could just be a measurement issue. So maybe take some time and do that. I'm going to make a note here. I'll remember this. This is definitely something I should do a video on. Well, one of the things I'm trying to do too, if you're a coach, and you could do it in the comments here, but the best way to do it is just go to Coach Jay Johnson, and my email's there. I'll type it in the here as well. It's jay@coachjjohnson.com. Ooh, and I think I can probably post that on the video. Okay, so that's my email. That's cool. Wow. I really like this software. Um, tell me what I can do in terms of content that you can then forward to a parent, because one of the things about consistency is key that's really helpful is so many good coaches say, "Well, I bought this book and I want my parents to read it because this encapsulates so many of the things that we do as a program, things we believe in, things I want my kids to internalize. So I definitely want the kids to read it, but I want parents to read it too." Coaches who've won state championships who read this book, almost all of them said this is a great read for parents, right? I think for programs who are on that cusp of breaking through and doing that, the book is more impactful for the student athlete, right? But I think if it's a great book for parent. And I'm just coming back to the fact that I can create articles and videos and whatnot to help you with things that need to be communicated to parents. That's what I tried to do with that sleep video last week, right? Is I mean, you've been preaching sleep since the kid first got on the team, and obviously it's really important. Um, yeah, Jacob, that was a great question. Um, Eva says, I found an article once that explains to parents about cross country. It's a concise article that coaches could pass along on. That'd be great. Eva, if you email that to me, I will share that in the links when I share this recording. All right. Well, we've been going for about 51 minutes. I'll take a few more questions. I feel like an hour is a really good sweet spot. I think feel like less than an hour. 51 minutes, probably what Mr. Rizzo could run all out for 10 miles in Boulder. We had this run at CU called the Dam Run, where we'd start at the Buffalo. We'd go screaming down Broadway or adjacent to Broadway, get to Boulder High. That was 1 mile. Go 4 miles out on the Boulder Creek path, 4 miles back, and then you had to come up the hill. Everybody says, oh, it's such a hard run because you have to come up the hill. Here's the deal. It's on concrete for 10 miles. I mean, yes, there's a hill in it, but I don't know if it's that hard of a run. I was a guy, I think I ran 50. I might have run 56 minutes once. I was typically a 58-minute guy, which is just, I mean, 60 minutes is 6-minute pace, right? 5:30 pace would be 55 minutes. And I was a guy who, I mean, I wasn't much under 6-minute pace. And I know if you're at sea level, you're like, wait, a guy who ran at CU, and granted, it was a much slower time. As a 14:25K guy, I could still be relevant, in the conference meet or on the team. But the bottom line is it shows that altitude is hard, but it also shows that certain athletes have kryptonite workouts, and that was my kryptonite workout. I was horrible at that workout. So anyway, now Patrick now Rizzo could totally run this, because now we're at 53 minutes, so he could definitely run that in Boulder. Okay, well, if you have any feedback, any advice, feel free to share it here in the comments. Feel free to email me. I'll put that up there one more time. Feel free to email me. And this was a lot of fun. And yeah, if you're a coach, I would love to know what you think the next webinar should be about. It'd be great to oscillate back and forth. Obviously, I have some ideas based on time of year, things we should talk about. But if you have ideas, please let me know. And Eric, you're absolutely welcome. This was a lot of fun. All right. Enjoy the rest of your night, and look forward to interacting with you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.